Live on YouTube. Live on Facebook. Live on Twitch. Theoretically.
Theoretically, yes.
Twitch has a little bit of a slow start sometimes.
Yeah.
So. Alright. Hello, chat room. Over on Twitch, are you guys seeing me? Okay. Please let me know. Yep, sorry, Samus. I had to boot ya! Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks very much, Samus, for leading into our show, as usual. By the way, if you haven't been checking it out, he does, basically stream every day over on Samus Garobo channel on Twitch, so check it out. Hello and welcome to the weekly Wednesday Lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDOstream, youtube.com/DungeonsandDragons/live, and facebook.com/DDOunlimited. Please give us a follow on Twitch, a subscription on YouTube to get these videos in your feed, or to get notified when we're going live, and like us on Facebook because, I don't know, it makes you rich and gives you a lot of friends. There's someone else with me today who you are not seeing on video. The reason I'm a few minutes late is I was trying to deal with a webcam that liked to freeze. And then eventually I was like, you know what? The audio is the most important. So hello, Steel Star. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Glad you're with me here. And why are you with me? It's because we're going to eventually be heading to Wayfinder. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about Artificer and Battle Engineer changes. This went live yesterday over on the DDO forums. You can find it on DDO.com. Please do read through that, and please do give us your feedback if you are interested in doing so. But we thought we'd go through a little bit of that stuff live on the air here today, just to let people know kind of what's in store. So, the Artificer is, I guess what you might say, the next class pass that we're doing here, and this is targeted for Update 36. What were your main goals with the Artificer?
All right, so looking at Artificer as a class, unlike some of the other classes we've done passes on, we'd already done a little bit of tinkering with Artificer in the past. A little over a year ago, we did some changes to Artificer's second tree, the Arcanotechnician tree, which is Artificer's main spellcasting tree that got some upgrades and a couple of nice goodies about a year ago. So our goal in this pass was to take a look at the Battle Engineer tree, the other tree that Artificers get, and really try to flesh that out in terms of a weapons tree. Compared to a lot of the existing weapons trees, they were missing some things and had a lot of things in their tree that altogether we felt should have been part of the Artificer class itself. In addition, rune arms are a big deal to the Artificer class, so we took a look into those and some ways that we could make general usability of rune arms better. So in the end, we ended up with a much improved Artificer tree, Battle Engineer tree, with some cool new goodies in it that are going to make for interesting builds, whether you're using a crossbow or a melee weapon, as well as some improvements to rune arms and the Artificer base class that'll be good no matter what kind of Artificer you're playing.
Sure, so let's look at the base class first. Probably the most significant thing that people will see right off the bat is regarding cooldown. The rune arm cooldown is going to be basically cut by about a third.
Yes, this is working in one of the abilities that used to be in the Battle Engineer tree, which for about 3 action points would get you a 30% reduced cooldown on rune arms. That being in the Battle Engineer tree, it was gettable if you were playing, say, an Arcanotechnician or some other odd kind of Artificer build, but it was quite an investment into a tree that you didn't necessarily need when it's an ability that can really benefit anybody using a rune arm, no matter how many levels of Artificer they have. So we just made it part of the base class.
One of the other things is that since Artificer debuted, charging your rune arm while moving, and that has been, it's had like kind of a counter to it, a slowdown, and all the
Yes.
rest. And we're basically just getting rid of all that stuff.
We're basically just getting rid of that. There were some balance reasons that it went in the first place, but DDO's come a long way in the 5.5 years since Artificers first debuted, and it just really didn't make sense anymore.
So the charge decay rate while moving is reduced by 50%, no longer a penalty to movement speed while charging a rune arm, and yeah, I think that's mostly it. Oh, rune arms also, though, actually are going to be now scaling more with spell power.
Yes.
They were 50 to 80%, now they're 100?
Most rune arms, with the exception of a few, and you can see which ones in the forum post, but most of them scaled with between 50 and 80% of your spell power, and we just made that scaling with 100% spell power like a normal spell does.
And what's this thing about homing?
Homing. So one of the things that we noticed as we sort of dug into the rune arm shots is that rune arms had a very narrow window of homing. So even if you had a target hard targeted, if you weren't within this very narrow, your personal rotation compared to the target, I'm gesturing with my hands, and I don't know why I'm doing that. You all can't see me. If your rotation was off from the target by more than 20% or so, your shots wouldn't home, even if it was a rune arm that had homing shots. They would just spiral off straight in front of you. Whereas crossbows have a really wide amount of homing. You can be fairly turned away from your opponent. If you've got them hard targeted, your bolts are still going to go there.
Yeah,
so the
as someone
change
who both likes jumping and has improved precise shot, I can assure you that is true.
So the change we made there, and there were a few rune arm shots that were better than others in regards to this, but we made all of them match crossbows homing essentially turn radius. So essentially, if you're at a position where your crossbow bolts can home in on your hard targeted target properly, and you're firing a rune arm that has homing, it should home in.
Next topic has to do with basically making you a lot easier to kill, apparently, in the anniversary event. Lightning Sphere now has a functional saving throw.
Yeah, so again, in the 5.5 years since we introduced Artificer, this spell has just never had a functional saving throw, and it doesn't matter if players are casting it on live right now, or if, say, I'm casting it in the anniversary dungeon as a boss against players. It's just never had a functional save. You always get stunned. So that's finally getting fixed. It'll have the saving throw that's listed in its tooltip for both the monster side and the player side.
Artificers get what's called a admixture spells. They basically take potions and chuck them at people for healing. They could theoretically somehow use them themselves in the past. Is that right?
Yeah. You, in order to reliably hit yourself with them, you kind of needed to target downward a little bit, like physically move your camera downward, or run up against something solid and throw it and hope you were in the radius. So the change we made here is that if you hard target yourself, either through the F1 key or right-clicking on yourself, or however you've got your configuration set up, and then use one of the curative admixture spells, it will fire it straight down. So it should hit you and everything around you if you're standing on solid ground. If you happen to have feather fall and jump off something tall, it'll fire it straight down like you dropped it.
Nice. They're also getting a new weapon type that'll kind of mesh with really the not a new weapon type, but new to the Artificer weapon that is part of the class, and it really just makes sense given that they're kind of crafters.
Yes. So we wanted to explore a little bit of a wider range of things that Artificers that wanted to be in melee could do. Artificers, by the book in various editions, use a variety of kinds of weapons. And so in looking something to add, we went with something we thought was fairly thematic for Artificers, with hammers and morning stars. There's quite a bit of art in various editions of D&D that depicts them with these weapons. In addition, they're kind of underserved throughout most of DDO. There aren't a lot of classes that get specific bonuses with them. In addition, it synergizes nicely with the Onatar deity we added last year for Divines, as well as dwarves and gnomes who classically make good artificers. In addition, artificers are getting proficiency with those weapons as part of the base class. So now artificers that want to be in melee have the option of using these weapons that they have proficiency with, or still, like they do now, spending the feat on exotic weapon proficiency to get Bastard Sword or Dwarven Axe.
It also brings us one step closer to finally having Maxwell's silver hammer
Yes.
in the game. Why have we not done that yet? All right, let's turn our attention to Battle Engineer a little bit. Battle Engineer is getting some pretty significant overhaul, significant changes, I should say,
Yes.
to it, both in the core and the various tiers. So why don't we take a look at the cores first? They're going to be getting an additional tier for the Rune Arm, basically replacing Rune Arm Overcharge and replacing with the Static Charge. Is that right? What does that exactly mean?
Without having the notes exactly up, I'm not exactly sure what was meant by that. Some of the notes were specific in terms of rearranging things in the tree.
Okay.
I think what you might be referring to is we moved some of the static charge tiers out of the tree itself and into the cores.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
And then also an additional 15 PRR and MRR. Now, all these are in addition to what the cores already did.
Yes.
And the final core is +2 intelligence for a total of +4.
Mm-hmm.
Also a competence bonus to critical multiplier with certain things that make sense. And, artificer weapons, as it were.
Yes, with the weapons that get bonuses in this tree. That was to kind of bring the attribute bonus was more to bring it in line with most of our trees at this point that give +4 to ability scores in various combinations. And then the critical was sort of to be a nice draw to stay pure Artificer. There's a lot of people that, even if they are staying mainly Artificer, will splash 2 of a class to get evasion or something else. This is just meant to be a nice little extra if you want to stay in take 20 levels of Artificer.
I should know this, but when we talk about crossbows, we mean crossbows, not repeaters, right?
No, the Battle Engineer tree really specifically leans on repeaters. You still get bonuses with non-repeaters, but a lot of what's in here is especially good with repeaters.
Including the critical multiplier?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So tier 1, we're basically adding a third line to bring in those light hammers, war hammers, and Morning Star. We're adding a new thing called Field Scrapper. This is basically about Sunder DCs there.
Yep. Just a cheap ability that adds a couple of Sunder DCs, which will be very useful for the abilities further up in the tree.
Thaumaturgical Conduits is being moved down from tier 2 to tier 1. Taking a look at tier 2, again adding, and this is consistent, adding hammers, warhammers, light hammers, warhammers, and Morning Stars too. Weapon training throughout that tree. Rack Construct is basically going to be brought in line with the Rogue mechanic.
Yes, we just double checked because those abilities are meant to be identical, but Rogue had gotten a few changes in its past that had not quite carried over to the Artificer version, so we just made sure everything was in line.
Probably one of the larger additions to the Battle Engineer tree is in this tier 2. It's getting a new one called Caustic Strike. It's a +1, 2, 3 weapon, or half 1 and 1.5 weapon on a crossbow. Adds 3d6 acid damage, 10d6 rust damage, and that's at tier 2. Scaling with spell power.
So, it's a good, decent weapon attack early on that would add some plus Ws, a little bit of a stronger hit, as well as the extra acid damage. In addition, a ton of rust damage, which, the vast majority of the game is immune to, but if you're up against constructs or, say, inanimate objects that are prone to rust damage, you're going to chew through them real fast with this ability.
Cool. Otherwise, we moved down the extra action boost from tier 3 to tier 2, and moved up the attack or damage boost, made it a multi-selector.
Yeah.
So either attack or damage.
The current Battle Engineer tree has attack boost in tier 1 and damage boost in tier 2. We just kind of gave you the choice. We found that most Artificers didn't take both.
Yeah,
so.
Right. Tier 3, no major changes other than bringing in Disable Construct to match the mechanic version, and then the addition of weapon training to fit with the new weapons. In addition to some of the movement we saw earlier. Tier 4, Battle Mastery. This is actually kind of a significant one. One of the big pieces historically of Battle Engineer has been Endless Fusillade, which has a fairly significant cooldown, but is a real big batch of burst DPS once you sort of go through an arming animation. It's sort of the Artificer equivalent of Many-Shot in some ways.
Exactly, yes. One of the big criticisms of it was, it has a long cooldown, it has a long wind-up animation, and the duration is rather short. What we've done here is literally tripled the duration that it lasts. And so it still has the large wind-up animation, which is kind of critical to it, and it's one of the few places that, actually I think the only place that animation shows up. But it's extremely potent now. You just need to use the animation on the wind-up.
The cooldown remains unchanged.
The cooldown does remain unchanged,
Okay.
yes.
That's a pretty... I mean, that's basically a lot more damage here.
It is a lot more
Yeah.
damage. It's something we'll be keeping an eye on as we dig a little deeper into the balance. And it may change, once we reach Lamania. We'll be keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
But we like kind of where it's sitting at the moment.
It's cool. All right, new enhancement, Shattered Defenses. It's a melee plus 1, 2, 3 weapon. Again, half 1, 1.5 crossbow. Procs Improved Sunder with a DC of 14 plus Intelligence plus Sunder bonuses. Ranged variant requires a crossbow.
Yes.
Has a cooldown. So basically, Improved Sunder just sort of drops their armor class, things like that, right?
So this is the interesting things here. This is almost literally, on the melee side, this is almost literally Improved Sunder, but using int for the DC instead of strength. And that alone makes it a little bit interesting, as well as doing 3W damage on the hit. On the range side, this procs Improved Sunder on each shot of your repeater, which is a little bit interesting because there are not a ton of ways to apply Sunder through a ranged attack.
Yeah. Also a new one, Agility Engine. It's a 3/6 10% double strike, double shot while wearing a rune arm, and that's just passive.
That's just passive. Yep, you need to be wearing a rune arm, but otherwise you just have that passively. Starts to bring their offenses a little bit more in line with what you've seen in other trees.
How's that stack with itemization?
It's perfectly stacking. It's not exactly types, so it will stack with pretty much everything.
Cool. All right, Tier 5, we're getting to the top here. A new one, Reconstructed Armaments. +1 competence bonus to critical threat range with your chosen line. That would be like, say, crossbows, hand-and-a-half weapons, which are dwarven axes, bastard swords, or hammers, morning stars. Now, this also... Oh, actually, okay, so this combines really with the core 6, so you can get not only a bonus to your crit multiplier of 1, but also a +1 to the crit range.
Yes, so you can get both through this tree as a pure 20 Artificer. Otherwise, if you take the Tier 5 in here, you can get the crit threat range that a lot of the weapon-centric trees have had access to lately, and that Artificers have been sorely lacking.
A new one as well, Thunder Shock Weapon. It's a melee +3 weapon, crossbow 1.5. 3d6 electric damage, scaling with spell power. Procs Trip with a DC of it. Ranged variant requires a crossbow, 12-second cooldown. Shares a cooldown with Trip. We had a question from chat. Thimble says, it says it processes a Trip effect. Does that mean the Trip effect processes with a repeating crossbow or only with melee weapons?
No, there is a ranged version of this that does proc on a repeating crossbow. So some of the interesting things in this ability, it essentially acts like Improved Trip, using int for the DC instead of strength, like the Sunder one below it. It also uses Sunder DCs instead of Trip, so you can kind of consolidate a few things here in terms of your gearing, and it makes it a little bit different from some things you'd find elsewhere. In addition, yes, each shot of the 3 shots in your repeater, when using this ability, would trigger a chance to proc the Trip. This is another one that we're kind of going to keep an eye on and see how the power level looks when we hit Lamania. There may be some adjustments to the damage or to a few of the other factors once we get a good look at it. But it's an interesting kind of different playstyle for Artificers that we want to give a try, and it is in Tier 5, which locks out certain things, and it's worth it to have some cool stuff in Tier 5s.
New one as well, Unlock Potential, +20 melee and range power while we're wearing a rune arm.
Yep.
And then Tactical Mobility, 10% faster while wielding a rune arm.
Yeah, so we did very similar here what we did with Stalwart Defender, which used to be the case that when you were in Stalwart Defender, you took a 10% movement speed penalty and then were able to negate it with an ability in the tree. We eventually changed that to getting rid of that movement penalty and adding a movement bonus from the tree. We've done exactly the same thing here with regards to rune arms.
All right, so that's the Battle Engineer. As we said earlier, Arcano Technician, received a pass earlier, whatever
about the beginning of last year.
Yeah, beginning of last year. And the third tree...
hopefully someday. Goodness, I've written up like 4 or 5 different plans for this over the last 5 years. Would love to get to it. Don't quite have time with Ravenloft on the horizon, but would love to get to it soon. Yeah.
And I mean, clearly we don't know at this point really, but what might be sort of are we looking at defense?
So yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on which of my many plans you're looking at. But theoretically, right now, yes, defense would be a large component of it. It's one of the things that artificers are kind of lacking in general. Had some conversations with a few people on the forums about exactly this. But yes, it would in some ways involve defenses, most likely some repair theming, some trap theming, some interesting tricks up their sleeve. If it happens the way I'd like it to, it'll be a really fun tree.
Cool. And we should just repeat from the forum thread here as well. Iron Defenders are they're not part of this.
Right, they're not really part of this pass. So Torque and I kind of sat down at the outset of this and went, we know that the Iron Defenders and conversely the Druid summoned wolves are in a pretty bad state. They don't really hold up outside of above mid heroics. And their AI is atrocious, and a lot of times they're more of a hindrance than a help. And so we started breaking down what it would take to make a meaningful improvement to have them actually be, useful as opposed to kind of just a liability or a door puller. And unfortunately, even the smallest meaningful pass on them to get them into a place that felt better than what's out there now would take twice as long as this Artificer pass did.
Right.
It's still something we'd love to do someday. It's just finding the right time and place for it among other priorities like Ravenloft and finishing the rest of the class trees and things like that.
Can we bring back the rune arm charging sound? Do you know anything about that?
That is something that I should dig into. Can't promise for 36, but I'll take a look at it. It's on my ever-growing to-do list.
All right. Why just electric on Thundershock and not electric and sonic?
Because I lifted a good portion of this ability straight out of a identically named 4th edition ability.
Nice. Let's see if we have any other questions here that we should bring. Where can I read these updates? You can read it on the DDO forums, ddo.com.
Yes.
Look for the official discussion thread, and you can find all that stuff as well. 40 action points for a tier 5. Is this a typo?
Quite possibly, yes. It should match exactly what you'd expect in other trees.
Okay. And let's see. This is also in the forum thread, but it came up as a question. I don't think I've ever seen any Warhammers that do much damage worth wielding.
Oh, yes. It's sort of the two sides of the coin problem where there hasn't been a lot of support for hammers in DDO through trees or classes or anything that really solidly gives a good reason to use them. And as a result, we haven't made very many named ones because there hasn't been demand for them. So these two things kind of go hand in hand. I would expect to see some interesting hammers dropping in the near future, including one with U36.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And this is for Update 36, which,
Yes.
We'll be seeing on Lamania sooner rather than later. No exact timeline to announce there, but, it is June. We're targeting July for Update 36 roughly. So, do the math. All right, thanks, You'll Start, for joining me. I really appreciate you taking some time with me today. It's great to have you on, and thanks for your work on Artificer.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and look forward to hearing from some of you all on the forum thread.
Cool.
So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I am logging into Wayfinder as we speak, and we're going to wrap things up here. For the second half of this hour-long show, just kind of questing around and doing, whatever we end up doing, I guess. Starting off with fewer hit points. That's what we're going to do. Okay, so let me get to a couple other things that I know people are interested in. We do have a bonus going on this weekend. Let me call that up on our calendar so I can get that to people. Otherwise, we did have some store downtime today. That's really just about some kind of technical store maintenance thing. Nothing really too much to say there. We did have to do a quick restart of the game worlds yesterday before our downtime. So we were having an issue where people were having long load screens and some things like that. So, sorry. Okay. Oh, hey, cool. Treasure Hunters Boost plus 10 is this weekend's bonus. Let me make sure I'm right. Yep, we're talking 9th of June. Starting 8th of June. So that'll boost your, similar to a treasure hunter elixirs, which will stack with the treasure hunter elixirs. It'll increase your die roll when you're rolling on the loot table. We do expect update 36 to hit Lamania sooner rather than later, but like I say, no specific ETA to announce. You know, we got a couple people on vacation, we got a couple of people working really hard on things as well, that it's like, I don't know when it's going to be ready. So when it's ready, it will be brought live. Alright, I'm not actually sure what I want to run here today. Anyone got any suggestions? I was running Three Barrel Cove just for the heck of it. Yeah, we could do that. As long as I'm here. See what I'm up to. Looks like... Yeah. Yeah, it looks like Garl's Tomb I need to do, so I guess we could just do that. Epic. I will get to your questions in just a second. I'm just kind of trying to make sure I know what I'm doing here. Hey, Swamp Bat. Appreciate you being here. Oops. Fine, I'll run. We have been busy. We have been busy, busy, busy. I tell you, not only are we busy on the DDO front, but we're very busy on the other game right now, because, you know, you guys may know that they're going to Mordor with the expansion before Ravenloft, right? And they are getting ready to hit their version of Lamania real soon. So we're a little busy doing that as well as the DDO thing. And Summer. And Wonder Woman. Saw Wonder Woman on Friday. That was pretty sweet. Could I ask marketing if we could get cosmetics on sale following the store returning in the game? They are on sale now, but you cannot try them on. Sure. I mean, to some extent, the wiki will probably help you out with this stuff, because, you know.
A cave extends deep into the rock behind this waterfall. With its engine destroyed, the airship shudders
But you're right.
and begins to fall.
Wait. What am I doing? Why am I not seeing it? For some reason I'm not seeing the epic panel on Garl's tomb here. What am I doing wrong? Oh, the wiki won't help, sadly. Well, I'll pass it along then. We should be able to. Oh, that's why. Okay.
I can get in, so...
Yeah, there we go. I got it too.
Okay.
I just was being a dumbass. Alright. You have to click over not to troglodytes, get the other one. Purple Dragon Robe for the win. Can you... Okay, so yeah, Puff Granny, I will bring that up. That should be coming pretty soon. There is an issue that cropped up with XP and Vista compatibility on the Lotro side that has delayed our deployment of it to the DDO side. But, and if you want to know more about that, you can find out. How did the Cleric preview go over on the forums? Well, one of our goals was to get people talking. We certainly did that. I thought it was great. It was certainly not without its controversy, I'll tell you that much. But, hey, you know, it's part of it, right? So if you roll a 90, you get plus 10 and are re-rolling for better loot, and that repeats with the plus 10. Yeah, correct. Are we getting craftable orbs anytime soon? I've not heard of any plans to do that. Sorry. Any events soon, including Crystal Cove? That's a good question. Oh yeah, I forgot. Store's down right now. It's not on the calendar yet. That doesn't mean it isn't coming up soon. I just didn't make it onto the calendar.
A single blood-tied pirate peers into the gloom. He seems to be waiting for someone.
So yeah, I would imagine Crystal Cove would be coming pretty soon. If the charging sound comes back, it needs to be a toggle. I don't disagree. I don't know that that's actually possible, though. I think that's part of the issue. It's really just kind of one sound channel, and it's either on or off. Sealstar mentioned in the forums that there is some Epic Destiny that can reduce the wind-up animation time for Endless Fusillade. What Epic Destiny ability is that? I don't remember. Someone in the forum, someone in the chat room help us out on that one. I don't know. More items like a Jack Gibbers blade or a way to craft them? Heck no. Are you kidding me? Craftable Jack Gibbers. No way would we ever do that. Yes, that would be the most unbalancing thing we could possibly do to this game. No. The idea of an extra life is certainly not something that we would like every single player of this game to have. That's why it's got its uber rarity and such. Half the Minion Monday crews here Very cool. So be a tough battle over the death count. Oh, I'm pretty good at the death count. So
Beyond the gate, a massive
I'm going to dive in and have fun with the new cleric. I know, right? It does look like we may be not, at least for now, doing that turn undead work. It just really was a little controversial. There was a lot of discussion about, hey, you know, maybe turn undead isn't quite as busted as everyone was saying it was, except for people who weren't saying it was. We ran the numbers, and it's true. You know, some people are able to do turn undead and epic hard, epic elite. So, plus they didn't. Enough folks didn't like the idea of relegating the destruction ability to a specific domain. That one that it looks like we're going to be taking a pause on that, shall we say, and then focusing our efforts elsewhere. So, but that isn't really set in stone yet either. That could end up happening before this happens. You know, really our next thing is update 36 rather than cleric domains anyway, so this is still in a very early sort of state. So, take that what you will.
Sifting through the loot in the chest, you find nothing to tie it to Aratsri's treasure cache. It must be hidden elsewhere in Garl's tomb.
Alright. Clerics need bowling balls? That would be fun. Alright. Very cool. It was, I have to admit, I've been playing clerics a long time, and it was news to me that turn undead was useful in hard and elite upper epics. Maybe it's just because I never tried. I guess I just sort of assumed it was useless, because that's what everyone had been saying, and what have you. I just sort of stopped using it after level, say, 22, 23, but... I don't know if I've got... Cool. Yeah, I can turn about halfway into Epic, but yeah, Fire is saying turn all the way into Epic. You know, like we got a lot of that feedback, right? So that really kind of changed our thinking on this, and you know, it's not to say that we couldn't still tweak Turn Undead. It's just that really the impetus to do this work was a belief that it was truly and utterly, just useless, so to speak. And if that's not the case, then, we have a bunch of other things we could be working on. So we should probably work on those instead. Any ETA on when... Oh no! Jeepers. On when I'm going to run with people from Movember. I know Ravenloft is going to be a busy time. I know. It's tough. The unfortunate reality is I promised all this stuff last November, and then stuff happened, and Standing Stone Games happened, and I started working for both Lotro and DDO and kind of overcommitted myself. And now I'm in this position where I just do not have free time to actually be doing this running with people. And at the very least, now I've got my son with me, which is a good thing. But now I've got my son with me through end of July. And so that's taken up my evenings and weekends. So I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I want to get to it. I've done a little bit of that work in like January, February. But I've ran out of time. So my hope is that if that's you, if you're one of the folks who I owe some gameplay with, get in touch with me on the forums and we'll figure it out. Probably I'm gonna say early August, unless you're able to go during the workday. And I am going to Gen Con too, so... Oh yeah, I'm going to Gen Con. If you're going to Gen Con, that's going to be awesome. I am bringing swag. Again, it might just be all that old stuff, but I am bringing swag. Signing up for events. Some cool things. Friday night gathering for buffs. If you are going to Gen Con and think you might want to hang out with a bunch of DDO peeps, mostly players and me. Friday night. It'll be almost certainly at the Severin, the Omni Hotel, the Severin Omni Hotel Bar. Because that's a fun place. And we've used it for years and years, and it is out of the way enough that it kind of, the rest of the Gen Con crowd doesn't know about it. And it's, open enough that we can just sort of crash it and have fun. Oh, heck yeah. Hipperin, if you're going to be in the area, let me know. That'd be awesome. I'd love to hang out. Sounds fun. Will my son be a gamer? I have thought about that a lot. I don't know. I'm tempted to say yes, but maybe he's going to be, kids tend to rebel against the things their parents like, so, maybe he's going to be like, nope, I only like football. What do I know? Maybe he won't like games. Right now he's into games. He's into toys. He doesn't play a lot of video games, but he doesn't mind watching them. He enjoys watching Minecraft videos and car crash videos like, is it BMNR is kind of the big hip thing about that right now. Some cool stuff, so. Someone says, I build for turn, and without past lives and number, it is fairly useless. I've heard that, for sure. Will the update 36 preview soon? I think it's going to be soon-ish. There's some just kind of... It has to be ready to preview, and there's a bunch of people doing various things that are kind of making the time be moderately flexible right now. But I'm guessing mid-late-ish June. At the very latest, we should be having it. Oh no, Edward, what happened to you? Oh, did you jump down? I don't know, though. You know, someone was saying you need to be, like, a first lifer can't turn anything in Epic Elite and that sort of thing. I don't know that that's really a problem. I mean, should a first life character be able to turn in high-level epics? I don't know. But yeah, so I'm going to say on the Update 36 preview, probably latest will be late June. And we'll kind of see what ends up happening there. There we go. Ah! No! Okay. No! Oh well. Fine, I didn't want to go up there anyway. Alright. I can't honestly answer whether or not, say, a first lifer can turn in epic normal at all. I literally just do not know, as I've never tried. Like I said, I use turn undead a lot in heroics, and been really all the way through, say, Menace of the Underdark, and I just sort of stopped using it after Menace. Is the store still in a different window? Yeah, for now it is. We're almost ready to make that switch, and it'll probably do what happened with Lotro, which is actually kind of nice, where you can opt in. If you do like the external window, you can opt in to continue to open it externally, but it'll be hopefully coming soonish. We did run into an issue on the Lotro side, which again I hopefully will not be an issue for DDO, but right now Windows XP and Vista users are having an issue because it's the new browser uses the Chromium enhanced framework, which is based on a version of Google Chrome that is not supported by XP and Vista. So we have to do kind of a little bit of a hacky launcher workaround to allow those folks to be able to launch the Lotro game client while we work on a solution to that. So because of that, we're not deploying it to DDO yet, because we don't want that to be an issue for DDO. We'll see what happens. Yep, this is week 2 of 2 on Wayfinder. I will be back on Friday on Wayfinder. And then next week we start back at the top of the list. Which is actually, well, I would say, well, got to be getting pretty soon on Lamania. At some point here in the coming weeks, we will be on Lamania for Update 36. One of those weeks will probably be an Update 36 preview with the devs. And otherwise, I'm starting at the top of the list, which is actually kind of interesting because Artificer, my main on Argo is an Artificer, although I do have a T-Ard Barbarian, Half-Orc Barbarian as well. So if the Artificer stuff's ready, and he's even a Battle Engineer, I'm pretty sure. So if the Cleric passes in time, I'll probably do that, but otherwise I'll probably be on my Half-Orc Barbarian on Argo. Sweet.
You unlock the underwater door with the key you took from the Yuan T.
Did the DDO store downtime fix the internal browser? No. No. I just mentioned a bit ago, maybe you missed it, which is fine. We're still working on that. It's basically ready to go, but there was an issue that cropped up on the Lord of the Rings side that we want to address before we deploy it to DDO. Any new info we can share about Ravenloft? I don't know if there's really much I can share or not. So much alert! I mean, work is absolutely underway on it right now. We have got people working on the landscapes. We have people working on the quests. We have people working on monsters and NPCs. You know, this cleric thing is kind of part of getting ready for Ravenloft. I've seen bits of Castle. I've seen bits of Barovia. So it's all coming together, looking real nice, but I can't really say much more about it than that. Is Steelstar hiding anything from us about Artificers? Probably, because he's got ideas for a third tree along with an Epic Destiny tree. But none of that's anywhere near coming out, so... Can I show the cosmetic outfit, since the preview is not an option for now? I could, theoretically. And I could just sort of go on an admin and create them and what have you. But, kind of a lot of work. Alright, cool. That is going to wrap it up for the show. I will go in-game and get you guys a DDO point code a little bit later on today, perhaps tomorrow if I get too busy. When is the Cleric Domain release? No exact timetable at this point. It's really in the early stages. Most of the work actually hasn't even begun on it yet, so, who knows. But, cool, I'm up to precious cargo now. Nice. The intention is to get it out before Ravenloft, after update 36, but before Ravenloft. So whether that ends up being 36 patch whatever, or that ends up perhaps even being update 37 if we don't call Ravenloft update 37, we'll see. We'll see. Have we thought about putting in dyes as in cosmetics? The main issue with dyes is you're essentially making a new item, so there's some work there, but potentially. Alright, thank you very much for watching the weekly Wednesday lunchtime live stream here on twitch.tv/DDOstream, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find our full schedule over on the Twitch page. We do have shows all week long, and we have room for your show as well. So if you are a regular streamer of DDO on Twitch or YouTube or wherever, get in touch with me, and we will get you on the calendar if we can. Stream it on DDO Stream. Basically, just don't swear too much and don't exploit on the video, and you're probably okie doke. So, get in touch with me through the forums, social media, or something if you are interested in being on DDO Stream. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday here at noon Eastern for Friday afternoon. Have fun, everyone. Talk to you again soon.